Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Dead Rising 4. I played it on the Xbox One because that's what it's available on. I think it's also available on the PC. And I totally forgot to wear a zombie-related shirt for this. Damn. Okay, so Dead Rising 4 stars Frank West once again, and he gets suckered in by one of his students, because now he teaches a journalism class, into investigating a facility that's doing all sorts of weird and probably heavily illegal shit. That does not go well for him. He goes into hiding, but he ends up getting suckered back into going to Willamette to see what's going on because there is another zombie outbreak there. The story itself was admittedly fairly interesting, but that having been said, it was shorter than previous ones. And unless I somehow totally missed it, unlike the previous Dead Rising games, there was no false ending that led to the actual ending, or at least not one that I found. But all that used to take was completing the actual game, and then it would suddenly trigger the real ending because, well, the games never ended the way you expected them to, and then, you got a final chapter. When it came to the audio, I think the voiceover work was good. I don't think it was anything that would be award-winning, but I think they did a good job. I also think the overall sound effects were very good. I think the weapons, being as unique as they are, especially the craftable ones, they made some really interesting sounds that really fit with what they were made out of. You've got your zombie noises, you've got your driving noises, explosions, guns, etc., and all of that sounds fine. It sounds good, it works. Onto the gameplay and whatnot, well, that's where this game gets disappointing. It definitely follows what you're used to from a Dead Rising game, such as, you've got your main missions, you've got your side missions, you've got your smaller events, you've got your psychos, etc., But unfortunately, with all that shit, there's a lot less of it than you're used to. Generally, a Dead Rising game feels just so very jam-packed with all of that stuff. I don't know if it was just me or if I missed a bunch of stuff, but it didn't feel like there was as much. Also, Dead Rising 4 has gotten rid of the timers at the bottom of the screen that you're used to, telling you how much time you have left to complete certain objectives from side missions to main mission. And maybe it was that just exemplified how little there was to do in this game, but in reality, there is not a lot to do. You can go around finding the collectibles, trying to level up the safe houses, which you do by rescuing survivors. You can find all the blueprints, etc., but actual missions, I felt there were very few of. While I'm pretty damn positive that it's larger than either Dead Rising 1 or 2, it definitely feels way smaller than Dead Rising 3. I also feel like there were less craftable weapons and vehicles in this game. I also think they were very poorly set up. You'd be rolling down the street and you might find one of the two vehicles you need to make a craftable vehicle, whereas in Dead Rising 3, you'd be rolling down the street and the two vehicles you need would just be sitting there. Which, yeah, realistic? Not even remotely. Useful. Extremely. I will say, as to some of the craftable weapons, some of them are just absolutely ridiculous, like the magic wand. Because it turns things into, gingerbread cookies and presents and things like that. As for the controls, they're far from perfect as well. They're kind of sloppy. The movement is not amazing. I mean, it works well enough, but it is far from fantastic. And the real issue I had with the controls, the biggest issue I would say, was the aiming is shit. And the auto-aiming that's supposed to help you is also shit. Okay, so not complete shit, but it is incredibly loose. It's very difficult to get a proper bead on your enemy. And so you have to just get close enough and hope the auto-aim is going to lock you on well enough. It's another one of those games where the movement is a little difficult in that you're trying to get into a doorway or something and you just can't line yourself up just right, which is always incredibly frustrating for obvious reasons because in real life, it's super easy to do. Not just real life, but tons of other video games. It's super easy to do. Graphically, Dead Rising 4 follows the same trend that, well, all the Dead Rising games have followed, which is not super cartoony, but also not super realistic, somewhere in between the two. I did run into quite a few graphical issues actually. Specifically, there was the time there's a helicopter flying overhead and the shadow of it was super glitchy looking. It just was not really a good, well done, smooth shadow. There were also times where zombies seemed to be like magically floating above rails, or the time that they glitched into a pillar. That could have been a major issue. Then there was the time where I was beating on a bunch of zombies and one of them suddenly dropped over dead, which I guess this falls less under graphical issues and more under technical issues, because it basically means the game had issues comprehending that I had done enough damage to this zombie to kill it. There's also a couple of other issues that I need to address, and that's like I mentioned earlier, those zombies getting stuck in the pillar, that was while I was clearing out a safe house. I couldn't kill them while they were stuck in that pillar, which meant I couldn't clear out that safe house. Now, eventually the game caught on to the glitch that had occurred and just counted the safe house as cleared, but had it not, that could have been a huge issue for me. I mean, yeah, it wasn't a main mission, but it was a side mission, and had it happened on a main mission, I could have been completely screwed. Then there was also the issue of Frank West essentially getting frozen in place when you're trying to mantle something or kind of stuck in like a little corner. It happened to me several times, and while it never ruined anything, it did nearly get me killed every single time that it happened to me. Also, as of filming this video, the achievements seem to be broken because I completed the game and did not receive a single achievement. At the end of the day, honestly, Dead Rising 4 is a game that I wanted to love because I've really enjoyed the previous ones, but I think this is honestly the most disappointing entry in the franchise. All the technical issues really seem to drag it down. It's not as long. The story is short, the map is smaller. There's a lot of things that I feel the previous games did better. I mean, a lot of those technical issues will probably be fixed in about 6 months or so, but this is launch. I still want my games to be fully functional, not broken messes at launch. As it stands, I can't recommend buying this game. I honestly think it lacks content and it's a technical mess at this point in time. Maybe in a year or so when they re-release it with all the content included and they've fixed all the glitches and whatnot, it might be worth buying. But as it stands, it's a skip. Okay, so in the comments below, why don't you let me know what your favorite game of 2016 so far is. As always, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, and if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one.